So if you want some explanation of what those shots are and what I think they mean, this is probably the video for you. If you don't want to know anything and you don't want to be spoiled, then don't watch this video. Wait until the movie comes out. People have asked, whose helmet is that? I've been told just simply that it's actually Rey's helmet. She doesn't need it. It's supposed to be for safety. She's a Jedi, doesn't need it, just throws it away. When we see that shot of the Tentative 4 kind of ship, the Rebel blockade runner lifting off and above the jungle trees, I don't know if that's significant or not, but people have asked if that's Leia, and it could be, but I've also been told that Leia does not leave the planet, that she starts on that planet and she dies on that planet. So it's unlikely she's in that ship unless for some reason she trains Rey and then flies back to the base or something like that. When we see that giant ice cube in space, that is, I believe, the miners' town. And if you remember back in the day, I reported on the set pics I had of like a castle that was being made at Pinewood, like all those like castle looking sets. That is because a scene takes place there around a fish market where Poe and Finn, Chewbacca, and the rest of the rebels like Bulio and Claude, who were on the Falcon's crew at that time, meet with a contact who warns them Kylo Ren is in the outer reaches. Basically, he's going to get the Sith fleet. I don't know if he comes out right out and says the Sith fleet, but basically the warning is Kylo Ren's doing something out there. It's important. You have to go stop it. There's the throne from the leaked pictures. And if you saw my video from a few weeks ago, you would see that I commented on this very throne specifically. And in that video, I talk about exactly what goes on. I'm told now that all of those things still happen exactly in that way, but the wording about the Force dyad kind of content is different now. It's much more played down. So it's going to be in the subtext. So if you watch that video, you'll get the subtext of what the conversations are. When we see the Star Destroyer coming up above the surface with the ice cracking over it and breaking, I'm told that is the new first scene in the film. Originally, we were to open with young Luke and Leia training, and young Leia tells Luke Skywalker that she's pregnant with Ben Solo. Now that's been moved deeper into the training sequence, cut down but still intact as a scene. And this is the opening of the film now, is the Sith fleet rising. Which sounds pretty badass. There's the ghost everybody freaked out about, and right there's I believe Lando bringing the reinforcements. In the previous throne room stuff we talked about, Palpatine shocks the fleet up in space and basically shorts it out and immobilizes it. I don't know if this is related to that or if this is when Lando brings the reinforcements, but I'm guessing this is the reinforcements, but that's just a guess. When we see that explosion, I'm told that the explosion is a planet being destroyed by one of the Star Destroyers from the Sith fleet that has the little Death Star guns on it. If you remember back, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, we ran an article about the Sith fleet and about how they were going to have little tiny Death Star tech weapons on them that could destroy planets, each one. That is apparently a planet being destroyed. I think I know which one, but I'm not going to say which one because I'm probably going to be wrong. So I'm just going to leave that one alone. If you remember recently, we talked about how the most emotional moment in the whole film was going to be when C-3PO sacrifices himself for his friends. And he says he'd do anything for his friends. And that's like literally in the trailer. Also of note, when we first talked about how this was going to go down, we talked about how there were battle droids too. And we had heard that there was like a lot of Easter eggs. We heard that there was a bad robot, Star Wars robot, put into there. Well, in there right here, you can see the battle droid. So I assume that everything from that scoop is generally accurate. And 3PO does sacrifice himself, gives up his memories, so that way they can translate the Sith dagger. I'm told it's like the saddest part in the film, but then it's undone about 30, 40 minutes later into the film when R2-D2 restores his memory. I like this next shot. just because that's basically the shot from A New Hope, and they just redid it, which they also did later on with that Y-Wing, which is probably Zori's Y-Wing. They redid a Ralph McQuarrie painting going up towards the Star Destroyer laser. Now, this part right here is where things get complicated and kind of interesting. We have heard that on Pisana, Chewbacca is captured, and he's on one of the vessels that's going to take him away to prison. Rey grabs it with the Force, and Kylo sees her and grabs it too. This is right after that shot from the first teaser where he's in the TIE fighter flying towards her. She jumps over it, destroys the TIE. They get into this tug of war with the ship, and Chewbacca's supposed to be in it. Well, Rey accidentally ignites her Sith lightning that she doesn't know that she has because she's a Palpatine, but also because, you know, she gets mad and frustrated, I assume. And she uses this power and it fries the ship, and we think that Chewbacca is gone for a time. I'm pretty sure that's why Chewbacca likely doesn't have his bandolier and why it ends up in Kylo's room. I'm also told that when we get to the shot later on that we'll talk about, there's a little bit of that flash fight force bond stuff going on. So that makes it more interesting. When it comes to the Pisana stuff with them on that ship flying, I'm told that it's really just kind of almost exposition, how they get from point A to point B in the film. And there's a little bit of action to make it fun and exciting, but it's not too significant. Another kind of interesting thing is we were told that there was a zero gravity battle going at the end with Finn and the Star Destroyer, and we thought it was inside, but it's actually not really zero gravity. It's them actually kind of in the atmosphere. I think that's where that rumor came from, and also why we had such a hard time figuring out where those horses came from. So I believe when we get to shots like this, where Kylo and Rey are together, they're actually in the Force bond in this, and only one of them is actually there, and that would be Rey, who we see on that little boat going towards the Death Star and then doing her Jakku-style parkour to get up into the spot. And this is where she also has the vision of her being Dark Rey, from what I understand. So this is the moment I was talking about, when we see them both hitting that statue and it crumbles and it's the Darth Vader head and a bunch of like black obsidian looking stuff. They are in the Force bond at that moment. So only one of them is actually there. But I've also been told that that shot from Empire magazine is Rey escaping on the Falcon and the afterburners of the Falcon blowing back. So I'm not sure, but I think Rey may actually go from that location and actually just keep going. She might actually go to, because that's Kylo's personal room that's on his Star Destroyer, where he has the helmet. And they fight in it, and when he destroys it, he doesn't mean to hit it. He thinks he's swinging and he's seeing her location and she's seeing his. So I've also been told that the helmet, when this moment happens, actually ends up on Kijimi. On that shot of 3PO, Poe, and Finn together, it looks like that might be in the Pisana cave where they fight the Sand Snake before they find OG's ship and they get the Sith dagger. The other thing, worth mentioning on that last shot too, is that Rey has the dagger with her. That dagger belonged to Ochi, and Lando Calrissian and Luke Skywalker go to look for it at some point, but they don't find it, and during that quest or whatever is when Lando's daughter is kidnapped, and we believe that daughter is Janna. Rey also sees a vision of her parents being murdered, and when she sees that vision, it is that dagger. So it's likely that Ochi, who's a Sith loyalist, was told by Palpatine to hunt down Palpatine's son or family or whatever they happen to be, which I believe it's his son, and kill them. And my personal thought is that that means that Rey would be alone on Jakku and should be likely to grow up to be evil and susceptible to Palpatine's manipulation, as well as his seduction for power. But it goes a different way because she's inherently a good person. And I'm pretty sure that this is on Exegol because we could see lightning in the back. He's also very beat up. And if you remember in the pictures we talked about that we saw in the videos that we've seen, he looks really beat up at the end of the film. So He's also, his hair is still wet, it looks like, for what that's worth. In this scene right here, it was originally, I think, a Bespin bulletin scoop that said that Palpatine was like, had this crane thing. I asked about this shot to my sources and was told, yes, that Palpatine is almost like a kitten, kind of like hung on his back, you know, in this like weird crane thing. It's not like a Mechno chair from the Nemodians from episode 1 or anything like that, which is what I've been asked a lot about. Is it that? It's not. And then he siphons the Force, or through Ben and through Rey, and then that's when he becomes Super Palpatine, who we've talked about and was recently seen in those leaked pictures, which I won't put in this video. Also, interestingly, when you see that picture right there of Rey and the lightsaber, that right there links right to that other leaked picture of Ben and Rey together, because this right here is when she sees that Ben has come to help her. So that look in her eye is that she's truly touched that Ben has done what he's done to come and try and save her life and make sure that she stays good and that she doesn't die. So that's what I think I know from the Star Wars trailer, and there's probably a couple of things I missed here and there, so check out the podcast. If I did, I'll elaborate. And I hope you enjoyed the trailer as much as I did. I thought it was pretty good overall. Some of the jungle stuff in the beginning was a little bit boring, and I originally reported on a different cut of the trailer that was essentially the inverse of this. All of the stuff was the same, but instead of Rey in the jungle, it was Kylo on Exegol, which sounds way cooler and more badass, but overall I wouldn't be surprised if we still saw that trailer pop up, so I'm not too worried. But if you liked the video, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like the video if you liked it. Let me know what you thought about the trailer and what you think about these interpretations. Also make sure to check out MakingStarWars.net for more updates. I usually post there first.